Everybody. Welcome. My name is Dean, deanblundell.substack.com is where you can find us. Me, not us, me. You can find us here now because we're broadcasting live right now. You can also find my friend and co-host slash host slash Substack live buddy,
Hello.
Zev Shalev,
Nice to see you, Dean.
narrative.org. Nice to see you
Good
too.
to see you
And we
too. My friend Jacob's here.
brought in a ringer today
He did.
because all hell breaketh loose with this fucking
Yeah.
unbelievably laundered 28-point peace plan. Turns out it's from Russia. Turns out shadow diplomacy is a thing, and it's all Trump knows how to do because he's a fucking gangster and he's dealing with Russian gangsters. So he sent his Russian-American gangster friend, Steve Witkoff, over to Russia with his buddy, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to divvy up what they want to do with Ukraine, which is profit. And Jacob, great to see you. The Intel briefing, which you are incredible at. You can find Jacob at Jacob Karsbo, Kaarsbo. Link in bio. Just hit that little chyron at the top, and you can follow Jacob. How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. And you summed it up nicely. What's happening? And as you said, I'm a former intelligence officer, so what's going on really? Oh, it's mind-boggling. Can't
Yeah,
get
because
over
last
it.
time we
But
talked, we were just talking about the rejection of the 28-point peace plan because it was laundered by the Kremlin. But I mean, this goes way deeper. What do you know? Because your mind has been blown like mine has since we last talked.
yeah, I mean, it seems this whole lot they're compromised. What we do know about Steve Witkoff is that every time he gets involved with Putin, what comes back are decidedly Russian talking points. What he comes back with could be written in the Kremlin. We had the confirmation yesterday that the 28-point plan was in fact written by the Russians, and that's been indeed the modus operandi throughout this administration.
Yeah.
That whenever Witkoff comes involved, it's a Russian print, and mad.
The thing that came out last night, these shocking transcripts of Witkoff talking to Putin's senior foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov. This was published by Bloomberg. It's quite stunning. I mean, it looks like Witkoff is coaching Yuri Ushakov how to convince Donald Trump about Russia's own plan. I mean, it seems almost treasonous to me.
He's giving him like a Trump cheat code, how to convince Trump to get what they want out of Trump.
Yeah, and I mean it's that whole discussion about whether the 28-point plan was Russian or was it American doesn't matter because Witkoff and Kushner and the lot, they pretty much agree with the Russians. So it's a cosmetic discussion really, because that's evident.
So does this happen often? I mean, have you ever heard of a situation where you've got a advisor to a party now in these talks who's doing the other side's bidding like this in such an obvious way? I mean, I've never heard of anything so ridiculous in my life, that especially with America, I mean, of all countries.
Yeah. Never ever. Well, it's history in the making. Every time this stuff happens. There's so many instances where this administration in 10 months have done stuff where you think, nah, this makes my brain freeze, and this was just the icing on the cake, I guess.
Yeah, in this call, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, in the call, Witkoff literally scripts that Putin should say things like "congratulate the president" because you should say he's a man of peace. And then he also does this line here, and I'll just pull up the transcript here that you can see. He does this line. It says, "The real price, me to you, I know what it's going to take, Donetsk and maybe a land swap." He's basically giving away Ukraine's land in this conversation and explaining how, to get Trump on board for this. And then the things at the ends with here is Zelensky is coming to the White House on Friday. Ushakov says, I know that, chuckling about the fact that they've already got this sort of back room deal cooked up. It's stunning.
It's mad. And, this whole thing, you can always argue about, security and what guarantees do the Ukrainians need, etc., etc. But, even though Steve Witkoff has no experience in the security field, what he should know after 19 months was at least that President Zelensky is the president of a democracy, and under the Ukrainian constitution, he cannot give away Ukrainian land.
Right.
So, this can't fly with Ukraine. I mean, even if Zelensky himself was a dumbass and thought, well, I'll just give away this and then we hope for the best. Even if he did that, he couldn't because he would be compromising the Ukrainian constitution. And he would be out of his job. so, uh, so, and the same thing with the NATO premise that Ukraine can never be a member of NATO. It's in the Ukrainian constitution. So even if Zelensky himself had been prepared to budge on this, he couldn't.
It's like a game of charades,
Bing,
Dean.
bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's all it is. It's all it has been for 10 months is charades. It's like that 3-card Monty, right? Where it's like, here you go, look over here, look over there. But it's much worse than 3-card Monty because this isn't a new relationship for Steve Witkoff and the Russians. He's been laundering Russian real estate money since the 90s in New York with a guy named Donald J. Trump. He just did it on a fucking commercial level. And what I got out of those texts, what I got out of the transcripts, and what I got out of the transcript of some of the calls between Ushmanov and Dmitriev, and then if you look back at how Steve Witkoff presented himself in these conversations, it felt way more to me like Steve Witkoff was Putin's guy, not Trump's guy. And I'd love your thoughts on that, both of you, because you've got history, Zev, and of course, you're a Danish intelligence spook who knows everything.
You do. I'm going to defer to Jacob. I want to hear what his take is on this one.
This doesn't even require you to know everything. You just got to follow what's going on.
Occam's razor. I mean, it is what it is. It's the easiest explanation.
If our listeners, if they just scroll back to, was it late March after, was it Witkoff's first trip to Moscow? He came back. He appeared on the Tucker Carlson show. And he just came back and gave away this whole presentation about how fantastic Russia was, how fantastic Putin was, and about the Ukraine war, how the 4 Ukrainian provinces were really Russian at the end of the day. This complete nonsense, this complete farce, this complete fallacy that the Russian propaganda spews out. It was just like a Russian propaganda show going out on in the MAGA world.
In the White House, though, I mean, it's happening inside the White House, inside the executive wing, inside the Oval Office. They've got this, stooge basically, who is advising not the smartest president in the world about what to do, and I've never seen anything quite like this. It seems so galling. And to your point, Dean, this guy is not just a Russian-funded guy. He's connected to the Russian mob, which is connected to Putin as well. So it's like, a Russian mobster inside the White House telling the president of the United States what to do and leaking information to Putin's advisor. I mean, any pretense of this isn't a Russian
as how to corner
stooge.
his president, as how to corner his president,
exactly,
as how to get what they want out of his president. What do they call that in your country, Jacob?
Well, I'm sure I would be thrown in jail quite quickly if I did that. So
right, I mean, you would.
That's quite simple. You can get sent into jail for much less than that. But,
right, especially as a government officer, right? I mean, it's impossible to imagine him taking this kind of action and taking Putin aside and giving him such information, such detailed information about how to get Trump to go along with this.
And keep in mind, that's just one phone call, Zev, right? Like, we just got transcripts for one phone call. These guys have met like a dozen times, right? How much worse could it be if that is all we know, number one, and it's guaranteed far, far fucking worse for the United States of America, and even worse for Ukraine. And Jacob, I want to pivot to that real quick, is where's Ukraine at with this? Because, we've heard stories. I had Lev on, and I'm sure you watched that this weekend, the peace plan is a joke. It's Donald Trump just projecting that he's got a peace plan, wants to have it done before Thanksgiving. Ultimatum for fucking Zelensky. Do it by fucking Thanksgiving. Gobble gobble. And he's like, oh, by the way, we find out the same day that this was actually written by the Russians and it was shoved through Google AI and translated and just handed it to him. So he's effectively leaning on him for a deadline of Russia's demand for capitulation. Now they know that. I was shocked to hear that they agreed to any of the core principles. I don't know if any of that is true, but that is the reporting today. The Ukraine has agreed to core principles. Where are they at with the operation? Where are they at with the treason? And where are they at with the peace plan right now?
Yeah, I would say I think the game the Ukrainians and the Europeans are playing is just a game of trying to avoid that Trump goes all in with Putin and that the whole engagement that is still is in Europe and that people thinks that people tend to think will hold that can still be salvaged somehow. I'm trying to explain to people, but open your eyes because we are in a world where these people are just throwing sand into our eyes, but I think the Ukrainians are trying to salvage something, and then they want to see if the buck finally stops with Putin, but there's no chance of that happening. So
Yeah, there's no chance that Putin
it's a
agree to
grand
this.
illusion that that Trump will suddenly say, "Oh well, Putin doesn't want peace." That's bullshit. Everyone knows with just a little bit of sense that that Putin doesn't want that, and that Trump just basically doesn't give a shit and just want to normalize relations with the Russians.
I just
I'm
one more
quite
question I got to ask
confident.
you because if
I'm quite confident that the Ukrainians know all this because they're the least naive of all the
right.
Europeans. So I think it's many of us in Western Europe that have duped the Ukrainians into this kind of approach.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Is Ukraine actually doing this in order to say, hey, we're playing along, we're doing this, and now Putin is not going to agree to any of these alternative proposals that they've put. So they're engaging in the process. Putin's going to reject them.
Like smoking them out?
Yeah. And then then the West, including America, should be able to pressure Putin, or at least try pressure Putin more directly with economic sanctions and other things like that. I'm not saying under Trump, but I'm just saying this whole idea of putting America and Putin like sort of on the back foot here. It takes away their advantage.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does because it keeps us from doing what we should be doing, and that's also the game Putin is playing, and that's why he wants Trump and Steve Witkoff and a lot to keep going with this nonsensical diplomacy, and that's actually just to muddy the waters, to throw sand into our eyes, and to keep us from doing the right thing. So I think it's deeply troublesome that we engage in this kind of crazy nonsense that would lead to absolutely nowhere. It's a bridge to nowhere, and we know that, and that's really sad. But it's because the Europeans are so scared of the whole NATO, the American armed forces that are still here, the command structure that relies on the U.S. support, and this whole thing of not being able to deter Russians on their own, and what could happen in the Baltics, etc., etc. So I think that's what drives it.
That's so interesting.
Okay, so last question I would have for you, Jacob, before we let you get on with your evening. I know it's nighttime there, and you probably have a nice lager to get to.
Got a book to write, apparently.
Yeah, he's got a book to write. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
On this stuff.
We'll talk about that in just a second. But the last question I have for you before we get to your book, which I'm very excited to talk about because we just chatted about it briefly on text. Witkoff, Kushner are headed to Moscow right now. Is that what I understand? Do you trust them?
No. That's a very good question. Not the least. And I'm certain there's going to be another Russian plan coming back from it, and how Trump will then play it with the Republicans, and they've been more vocal in the opposition the last week.
Mhm.
Thank God, a few of them. But at least there are some that have been vocal, and how Trump will play that when in about a week's time, when we get a Russian blueprint back, we shall see. But it's not going to be any kind of mediation or negotiation or something that is remotely going to fly with the Ukrainians and Europeans.
And of
I know,
course,
Christian.
we're not going to get the profit taking portion of those meetings either. Probably not. You get
But
Rosneft, you get Lukoil, you get a part of
yes.
Nord Stream.
Get a part of Canada's Arctic plan.
Yeah.
You get all these other
Yeah.
things.
Let's quickly, Jacob, if you can,
Yeah.
tell me about this book that you're writing, because
Mm.
you said you could join us for a few minutes because you're writing your book. I don't have that kind of
Yeah.
discipline, by the way, but congratulations. Tell us
I
about
have
this
a
book.
journalist helping me.
Oh, do you? Okay, good. Thank God
But,
you didn't call me.
but anyway, it'll be out in English. It'll be out in English as well. So it's not only in Danish. And it's actually about this whole relationship between Trump Inc. And Putin and the Russians, and what that means for a small European intelligence service, because the intelligence implications of this is deep,
Mm,
and our whole security has been compromised. If you like imagine that you're an intelligence service in Europe and you're running a source in the Kremlin, I bet you the source in the Kremlin wants guarantees, absolute guarantees, that his information, of course, his data is not being shared with the Americans.
mm,
They've all seen what's happening. They probably all know the past, and what has happened with Trump and Putin in the past. They also saw just the most obvious of things. When Putin jumped in the back of the beast over there at Anchorage,
yeah. So weird.
shivers down their spines.
Mm,
So, I mean, they are not going to do any dealings with the European intelligence service. I can guarantee you that much. And if they haven't been exfiltrated, they've probably just disappeared, because they'll all be afraid that they can be identified,
mm.
and then they know what happens. So, our ability to recruit sources in the Kremlin relies on whether they will trust that we never share anything with the Americans now.
And do you think that's
That is
happening? This
scary
sharing?
shit,
Yeah.
right?
It's scary shit, and it's crazy, but it's the same with Canada and the
Yeah.
Five Eyes community. You cannot. No source, no human source will risk
Mm,
his or
of
her
course.
life to work for you, because they know there's a high risk that their information will be compromised.
Mhm.
So is that sharing completely stopped? Do you think that between these
Mhm.
European intelligence agencies and America, has it stopped? Has it just come to nothing in order to guarantee these sources?
Yeah, I will say the intelligence business is not a business where you take risks like that.
Hmm. Right.
So that's everyone knows it can be fatal.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
hey,
likely to
wink,
be
wink.
fatal.
Yeah. It could be really
So
deadly. I mean, these
so
people
so so
have lost
that
lives.
means, yeah. So that means, if you think back, Aldrich Ames and all the American sources that were compromised, even a very very important source, Oleg Gordievsky, that
Hmm.
was recruited here in Copenhagen by the MI6 and our service here jointly. The whole story of that, how he was exfiltrated out of Soviet Union back then. it's the same all over again.
Yeah.
Now it's just not some donkey that has that is a lost soul that's in risk of compromising everything. It's the president and his top dogs.
Yeah, and the FBI and the CIA.
Amazing.
It's funny, you've been at this for probably a couple of decades, and I haven't seen you this apoplectic. Put your hand on your face and go, "I've never seen anything like it." I mean, it's just like you've probably seen some shit, but you haven't seen anything like this. And the intelligence part is scary.
Nah.
To your point, Canada has basically decided we're not sharing anything with the United States of America.
It's something where you would usually say, just if you go back 2 years, if someone had said where we would be at this point now, everyone in the intelligence community would say, shut up, you conspiracy theorist.
Right.
But as you know, it's the goddamn truth.
I'm curious about who leaked this. Do you think it came out of the State Department? I think it came out of the State Department. That's what the rumor is. This the leak is actually out of the State Department, which would be
for Rubio to gain some
Could be. I mean, it certainly gives him some leverage. It certainly pushes the
It's pretty woke. It's a pretty woke move by Rubio.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
Could be.
Yeah, but what happened on Saturday there with the two senators coming out and said, Rubio tells us it's a Russian, and then
Right. Even McConnell came out and
to
said
save
that.
his own ass a few hours later, he said, "No, that."
Right, he did that. So
yeah, and the guy and the head guy that came out and said Rubio told us that this was a laundered plan from Russia was Mike Rounds, the most MAGA of MAGA dudes on the planet.
That was the shittiest of shit shows.
Yeah.
Jacob, you're always full of such good information, and I love the intel, and I love hearing the inside stories about your work in the intelligence community. And I can't wait for this book. So go write it, because we want to read it.
I have a hard deadline on Monday. So
you got to finish your book by Monday?
Yeah. Sounds like a great weekend.
So it's only the manuscript.
Okay.
But I do apologize to any listeners here that have checked out my intel brief from this morning, because there was something going on with the sound in the last half of it. So the whole bit about Witkoff going to Moscow next week was inaudible. And because of this book, I haven't had time to do a new one. My apologies. But anyway, all our listeners here have heard really what I said in that short video this morning.
Okay, well, redo it, because people are clamoring for real information and the truth, and you drop it with receipts. So Jacob Karsbo, former Danish intelligence, former UN Security Council member, all around fucking great dude. Thank you so much. Intel Briefing. Please give him a follow and a sub at Substack. You can find him at Jacob Karsbo, Karsbo. Please give this man a sub. He is incredible, and he's on the right side of things. Thank God, because he knows a lot of shit. Thanks for doing this, dude. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jacob.
Always good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
See you later, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Jacob Karsbo, former Danish intelligence officer, bigwig, former member of the UN Security Council. And that should scare the shit out of people. No longer sharing intelligence with the United States. Oh, my God.
How did we get here? The CIA and the Danes have always worked very, very closely together. They've always sort of been the same. You just think about CIA offices in Europe, and this is, I've discovered later in my research about all this stuff. A lot of them are in Copenhagen. They've had a sharing agreement for a long time. It's just a neutral country that's respected. It's easy to work with. So there's lots of exchanges going on. And I think for them, it must be pretty remarkable to have all of that. Having to pull back on that relationship, which has been so fruitful for them for so long. It's a big deal.
And it's dangerous for Americans, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got a bunch of Americans traveling around, Europe, Canada, different parts of the world, well-intentioned Americans. A lot of them now are sewing Canadian flags onto their backpacks and telling everybody they're from Canada because they get beat up and shit. It's a true story. It's a fucking hilarious story.
They've always when I was like younger, are you Canadian? No, I'm not Canadian. I'm American. I just don't. The Americans hate it. Americans are hated
you
around the world.
No, fuck, I'm Canadian. I'm totally Canadian, 100%. They're like, you got a Russian, you got like a Southern drawl. Nah, brother, I'm Canadian. I'm from Toronto. No, you're not. But the interesting part here is the information that's not going to the United States to protect U.S. citizens because they can't trust the United States with that information.
Yeah.
They can't trust that the Trump regime is going to take that information and use it dutifully and responsibly to protect Canadians. And it's not just Denmark. Holland the other day, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, they announced that they're not going to share any information with Trump and the Trump regime anymore. No more intel. Canada quietly curbed that over the past 10 months as well. The UK has curbed it. France has curbed it. Australia has either curbed it or stopped it. And so there's this organization of several countries known as the Five Eyes. Canada's one of them, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and the United States. And this is a very, very important information intel sharing partnership between these countries because of the continental and geographic, information that they get when it comes to protecting all of those democracies in the free world. And four of the Five Eyes have basically stopped sharing that information with the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, it is
not a good sign.
It's unbelievable when you think about it. This has been good for America and good for Europe. It's been good for Australia. It's been good for New Zealand, Canada, because the information sharing goes both ways. I mean, some countries are better at some things than other countries, and so the United States has lost a lot of data from these, respected intelligence agencies in the UK and in Canada, and now the reverse is true too. So. Plus, there's been all sorts of sharing. In Canada, they spy on Americans for America, or they used to. That stuff is not around, I don't think, as much anymore. I don't think that happens anymore, and I think that is also weakens the whole system. Whether you agree with it or not, it still weakens the whole system. And just to get back to what Witkoff is doing here, I mean, Witkoff is selling out America, selling out Ukrainians. He's on the government payroll as a senior advisor to Donald Trump, the president of the United States. And he's telling Vladimir Putin how to convince Trump to accept this ridiculous plan, which is completely terrible for the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
And our allies in Ukraine. I mean, they don't just, these are our allies. The people who are defending democracy in Europe, the people who are pushing back against Russian aggression in Europe. And Steve Witkoff should resign. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump should go to jail, but that's a whole other thing. But
Steve Witkoff should be in jail right now. Yeah, if this is 1987, Steve Witkoff's in jail.
They're investigating Mark Kelly. I mean, seriously, their FBI is investigating Mark Kelly, but not Steve Witkoff.
Yeah.
That is insane. I mean, it's completely lopsided. Steve Witkoff obviously committed a crime here, or something pretty close to a crime. This is not standard negotiation.
Dozens. And listen, those crimes that's just not associated with his, working for Russia to try and bend Trump's arm because he's got a close relationship with Trump, and Trump so fucking stupid and so interested in power. He's like, tell me what he said. Tell me what he said. You can just see him salivating every time Witkoff gives him a call, and he's given him a ton of bunk information before as well, where maybe Putin played him. If you remember that whole thing about Donetsk at first, they're like, yeah, you can have all this stuff, and they misunderstood anything and everything that Putin and Lavrov told them. And they're like, oh, what? They lost in translation. But to your point, and you have context on this too, Steve Witkoff left a legal career as soon as the Cold War ended because he had Russian oligarch clients, and they said, hey, why don't you do us a favor? Because we're taking all the rubles out of Russia because the dollar's collapsed, and we need a place to put hundreds of billions of dollars, and we want to infiltrate. We want to buy properties and hotels and businesses. We want to wash billions of dollars. And to your point, this is also the point of the Greatest Heist Book 1 and Book 2 series, which, Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump were ground zero for that. And worked cleverly with Russians. Trump on a smaller scale, if you can believe it. Witkoff was the commercial rinser for the Russian mob and the oligarchs. He has had a relationship with these sick fucks in Russia for 35 fucking years.
And whether he's done it wittingly or unwittingly, these are the reasons we've had so much financial crises over and over again. And that is the topic of the Greatest Heist. Is just these crises were started on purpose. These crashes of this market, this inflation of all these mortgage-backed securities, all this kind of stuff, that ties directly to Witkoff. And then now his sons are involved in this crypto thing, which is that right? Is that crypto? It is his son.
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah,
he's in business with Uday and Kusei Trump.
This is ridiculous. I mean, it's yet another scheme on top of another scheme on top of another scheme. Now he's trying to sell out to Ukraine. It's just ridiculous. And it ties in with our number 5 story, which was originally number 5, which is all about the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, including 2 Trump appointees. This is a panel of 3 judges just unanimously upheld the dismissal of Trump's lawsuit against Hillary Clinton and 28 others that tried to prove Trump-Russia was a fabricated hoax. It also upheld over $1 million in sanctions against Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, for filing frivolous claims based on knowingly false allegations. This is, in my opinion, a really serious story. If so many courts...
Is that why you're laughing? Or are you just laughing because that's the second time an unprecedented thing like this has happened to Trump this week?
I'm laughing because it's so obvious, and yet people are just refusing to see it. I mean, it's sort of like, when does the media wake up and say, well, this is important because if it's not a hoax, if Trump-Russia is not a hoax, then it's fact, then it's true that the Russians have a Manchurian candidate in the White House right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've gone through many court cases now. Every single one has been shut down. Every single time Trump has tried to say, this is a hoax, it's failed and failed miserably. And I mean, that logic, that final logical step is just not happening for the media in America. And for everybody else, because
you're the only person. You're the only person that's reporting on this story, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's at narrative.org. Go and check it out. It's about the Trump-Russia hoax, Trump losing this lawsuit that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. And this lawsuit was his last chance appeal of an appeal to convince a judge that he had been slandered, saying that he was absolutely working for the Russians, and he's trying to prove that he's not. And he's got a car park lawyer, Alina Habba, who it just continues to lose for him. It's fucking amazing how he keeps finding these women to continually put themselves in the line of fire, who's now been sanctioned to the tune of $1 million along with Donald Trump to pay restitution. Do you know why? And according to your story, yes, you do, because you wrote it. Because the judge basically said, you use lawfare like a fucking idiot. You have lost this case over and over again. This is malicious prosecution, and in no way are you entitled to any fucking damages because you did the shit, dude. And you can't prove you didn't.
Yeah, what he's trying to allege in this lawsuit was that there's some sort of RICO, conspiracy, a conspiracy between all these people to fake the fact that he is connected to Russia. And the judge was saying, well, this has just failed anyhow. The reason he lost had to do with the fact that he was just, had filed it too late. And he claimed that he never filed it the first time because he was so busy with the
That was a great story. That was a great part of the story. Can we just pimp that? Let's pimp that for a second. Yeah. They're like, dude, you're like 2 years too late. Statute of limitations has also ran out on that. He's like, I was busy being the president. I thought you'd cut me some slack. And they're like, it's not how the law works, dude.
It's not how the law works, but also, it's not designed to be a conscious decision. It's if something else is holding you back from filing a lawsuit, fine. If you're being held under whatever duress or whatever, but if it's your own decision to decide to do the business of state versus filing this lawsuit, then it's your fault for not doing it, and you can't just claim that you were too busy to file the lawsuit, so you're doing it late. But on the merits of the case alone, he's trying to allege that there was a conspiracy with Hillary Clinton and all these people to fake what we already know to be completely true.
We're watching it happen.
We see it every day. We just talked about it right now in the last segment. I've been reporting it since December 2016 that this president is compromised by Russia, and it's not okay. I mean, that isn't actually an okay thing under any circumstances. The fact that we now have all these courts again and again proving that Trump-Russia is not a hoax, to me means it's real, it's true, it's factual. There's a lot of reporting, a lot of other evidence from Mueller and everybody else where the convictions did hold up, that that it is true. And so we can't escape this fact.
I don't know, like 42 people in his first administration went to prison for it.
Yeah.
He pardoned all of them.
Yeah.
There's probably something there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking there's something there. Yeah.
It blows your mind away. On the other hand, he did have some good news, I guess, out of Georgia. This is story number 4 today. Georgia prosecutor Peter Skandalakis filed a 23-page motion today dismissing all charges against Trump in the 2020 election interference case. The Find Me 11,780 votes call, remember that one, calling the prosecution flawed and impractical because Trump's term runs until 2029. So he is no longer facing any charges in Georgia. Fani Willis's case was questionable all the way through. But, in some ways, he gets some reprieve there. However, it doesn't excuse the fact that he is also going after the other case, which was brought by the special counsel, whose name I can't remember, Jack
Smith.
Jack
Yeah,
Smith,
tough
sorry.
one.
Tough one to remember. Oh,
it's been a long day when you're like, Jack, I can't remember.
Jack
Smith.
Smith.
You
Such
nailed
an unusual
it,
name, man.
Can I just point out the Russia lawsuit, last chance lawsuit appeal failed miserably, lost that this week. His attempt to indict James Comey, Letitia James, failed miserably. Same thing, malicious prosecution. Your person's illegal. You're just a fucking idiot. Lost that this week. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
And this other loss, the Georgia election rigging attempt to overturn the 2020 election. This one's interesting because it fits the same MO of all of these. He's trying to figure out a way to use the Justice Department and lawyers and finding the right judge to literally legally change history. Change the legal history so he can point to the fact that in no way did he try to, it started a fucking insurrection, which we all watched. We all watched it. Watched it. People died.
There's
human beings, fucking cops died, pepper spray, beatings, nooses. Like, I mean, we watched it.
Representatives
that never
barricaded
happened.
Inside the chamber, fearing for their lives. People with weapons all the way around them, trying to bash in there. Yeah, we saw it live.
We watched it. Yeah. We watched it. It wasn't a fucking tour of the Capitol building that went bad. It wasn't a fucking, you guys are just here to see Washington.
They stormed Congress.
They stormed Congress with guns, knives, took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk. That's just inhuman. I can't imagine. And they're like, oh, it's no big deal. So he's trying to change that history. He's trying to change his Russia history. He's trying to change his election rigging history. He's trying to change history around his involvement with the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile sex trafficking network. He's trying to change history so he can point to history that he tried to change and go, look, I didn't do anything wrong. But you can't at this point because he can't stop losing. The judiciary is standing up. The Constitution is holding. It's shaking, but it's holding. Like the Millennium Falcon jumping to warp speed. It's like, hold on. And it's starting to move now. I like Star Wars, so, if you don't like the references, forget it. But it's starting to move now. But every single one of these losses, even the win that he had today, is about changing the reality and the history around Donald Trump's attempt to fucking murder people and militarize an army of morons in a cult to take over the United States of America. Every one of these lawsuits, every one of these losses, even this win today, it is all points to one thing and one thing only: trying to legitimize the most illegitimate con man, rapist, pedophile president in the history of presidents around the fucking world, not named dictators who've killed hundreds or thousands or millions of people. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to put daylight between what he's done, and he's losing that battle time after time. He would have won the Georgia thing if he wasn't out of office in 2029. That's just a fact. He's got that stupid fucking Supreme Court immunity. And this is how he does shit. This is just how he does
this
shit.
Rewriting of history is not just rewriting of history and there's another set of facts we forgot about and we didn't get. It's complete wholesale propaganda from the Russians created in some warehouse somewhere in Russia where they've come up with all these theories about what might have happened. They've been pumping it into the brains of Americans for the last 10 years, including his own brain. Maybe he even believes some of this shit, but it is propaganda. It is not real. And what he's trying to do is get the courts to change reality, reality and believe. But the good news, and what you're pointing out, and it's so good on Thanksgiving that we're getting these opinions out, and it's all happening, I believe, well timed, because we ought to be really grateful and thankful that our system has held up. I mean, it is remarkable that in the Trump Russia story case, you've got two judges that he appointed. He can't really say that it's biased, it's conservative, appeal court. He appointed these guys, and even they are saying you're way out of line, like you're way, way, way out of line on this stuff, which means they're also accepting the reality that he is working for Russia. So, the judiciary is standing up to him, and it's not just the activist, left-leaning judges that they like to call. It's also the conservative judges that he appointed that are doing this. And I think that's really good news for America,
Well, let me add a couple other postscripts on there. I don't know if you saw it, but Judge Boasberg, who put out a federal order to stop the deportation of Americans and migrants. If you remember that, Judge Boasberg did it, and they're like, fuck it, we're sending them anyway. He's now going to indict people criminally for it, and he asked for the information from the DOJ as to who gave the order to let those planes take off anyway. Trump immediately was like, "Does Christie know?"
Yeah, which is good, by the way. It's going to happen to everyone in that entire regime, in the entire cabinet. All these people who took these decisions thinking that somehow Donald Trump is going to protect them. He has a history of selling absolutely everybody out. You name it, he's sold them out in these past. Every single person he's worked with, everybody. We saw it last week with MTG. Do you think he is going to try and defend any of these cabinet people, even if he is in power? And I don't think he's going to be in power. These people are all facing criminal prosecution on a serious level. And Kristi Noem faces criminal charges. And all these people are breaking the law repeatedly. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all these guys, they're breaking the law.
And none of them have immunity. None of them have immunity.
No.
Like Trump can pre-pardon anybody he likes. But depending on where they get charged, how they get charged, none of the people that he's forced into this criminal enterprise to do his bidding of illegal orders. These are all illegal orders that he's trying to relitigate as legal. And he can't, even though he said the other day, when I give an order, it's legal because I'm the fucking president. Okay, Nixon.
Yeah, it's not true.
Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that. And this Pulte guy, the guy who does all these mortgage fraud investigations, Swalwell was on TV today saying he's going to sue him for invasion of privacy, and I think he's going to win. And Swalwell was like, these people are all going to be held accountable. They're not, as early as next year, this house is going to flip. And I said this yesterday, and I really believe it. Next year is a presidential election. People need to treat it like a presidential election because there is no ways, if you look at the trajectory of where we are now, a year out, and we already know all this stuff, we haven't even got to the Epstein files. Do you really think Donald Trump is going to survive the Epstein files on top of all this other stuff that he's collapsing, invisible daylight in front of all of us every single day? By next November, he is going to be so illegitimate and so ridiculous that people are going to be demanding his removal. And the people who can do that removal is the new House, which is going to be elected in November.
They'll get the House before the midterms.
He might be impeached,
they will.
To be convicted, they're going to need. I think they're going to need a new Senate. Maybe not. Maybe they'll reach a deal before because he's such a lame duck. But still, whoever is the Speaker of the House is in the line of succession and can be named the next president of the United States. Now, Can
I ask you a question? Yeah. Does the vice president of the United States have the same immunity as the president of the United States? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think he was given the same immunity. I mean, maybe it can be passed over, but I don't think, I think it's going to be negotiated out. I don't think they'll ever go to trial on something like this. I think the political winds are going to dictate that Trump and Vance can't be, in power anymore, and they've got to resign.
Can I give you my perfect scenario?
Yeah.
Let me give you my perfect scenario.
Give me the perfect scenario.
And ladies and gentlemen, this should be your perfect scenario too. Mass resignations, which are coming. By the way, we've all heard the stories. They're coming. Gavel goes to Jeffries. House flips maybe early in the new year. They impeach, they indict, and they convict Trump, Vance, Rubio, fucking Stephen Miller. I'm really excited for that one. And and then they give Trump the ultimatum. Hey, we'll let you keep that money that you stole, all 10 billion in crypto. We'll let you keep your ill-gotten gains, whatever you need. Fuck, we'll even let you keep that plane. We'll even let you keep that flying golden Qatari Palace plane. But what you have to do, and I was talking with this with a friend of mine who will go nameless right now because I don't want to out him because he knows things. what you have to do is you have to give up the ability to pardon anybody not named Trump,
Mhm.
no matter who they are. They don't share your last name, not allowed to pardon. You can keep all the shit. You can keep all the garbage you stole. You can go live and die a miserable life in Mar-a-Lago as a fucking stain on
Why not
American
throw him in
history.
jail? I don't get why we don't throw him in jail.
Well,
Because-
here, I'm not done.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
And then he signs a paper, and you take all of his shit, and you throw him in jail anyway.
Okay, I'll buy that too. I mean,
Come on, baby.
I think the reality of it is someone is going to march into his office pretty soon and say, this is not happening anymore. This is, you have no legitimacy. This is a story we're going to do next week. I don't want to reveal it yet, but there's a big story about how the elections were really rigged in the last round. And that is going to be becoming more and more and more evident for people. And he's cheated his way into office. He's cheated his time in office has been about making himself richer and being corrupt and making his network richer. I think he has got to go to face some sort of accountability. However we do it, he's going to have to face some sort of accountability. And I think that should just be like any other citizen, like any other ordinary dude in America in front of a court. I think he's got to be arrested and judged. And I think he's got to have his right to defend himself like every other person has the right to do. And good luck with that, Donald Trump. And good luck with that, J.D. Vance.
Do you see any of these pictures and videos of P. Diddy coming out of the jail that he's currently serving his time in?
No.
So you're not allowed, if you're a prisoner, you're not allowed hair dye or makeup.
Right. Oh. P. Diddy does.
We'll get some sweet shots of a 85-year-old.
We should get some renderings of what Donald Trump looks like without hair dye and makeup. He's going to look like, he's going to look like a Russian mobster who's in jail for the rest of his life, which is what he is. It's what. Do you know what
he's going to look like? He's going to look like at that point, because you can't hide all the shit all over his face and all the pock marks and the wrinkles. He's gonna look like his balls. That's what he's.
That's a terrible visual. It's a terrible visual
with gray hair and a massive bald spot.
Speaking of Russian mobsters doing crazy things, so this is from deanblundell.substack.com. Convicted Brazilian coup leader Jair Bolsonaro took a soldering iron to his ankle monitor Friday night in what prosecutors say was an escape attempt. He is trying to escape. And Trump told reporters the next morning he'd spoken to Bolsonaro last night and they were planning to meet very soon. What's going on? So Trump was trying to help a convicted felon who tried to overthrow the government in Brazil?
Latest available reporting would dictate that there is a link there. Yeah, I don't know if you watched Maddow the other day. She kind of put a couple things together, and since then, some other people have come out. I wrote a piece about it. You can go read it at deanblundell.substack.com. Short strokes are this. Jair Bolsonaro, former Brazilian president, hard right, called himself Tropical Trump. I'm Tropical Trump, everybody. Look at me and my banana
that didn't
drink.
age well.
Tropical Trump.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Tropical Trump engineers a coup when he loses the election, tries to storm.
There's a major news story happening. Are you watching this thing about the two National Guardsmen dead after shooting near the White House, according to the West Virginia governor? No. I'm going to just see if I can pull it up here because this is just happening as we're talking. But keep going while I just try to figure this out. It's just
yeah. Well, you're now my story has no interest. But here, bottom line is this: the night before Jair Bolsonaro gets arrested, he's on the phone with Donald Trump at around 11 o'clock at night, and he's like, they hatch apparently this plan where the Bolsonaro son goes out front, starts a prayer vigil for his dad. And in the commotion, he sneaks out the back door, runs to the U.S. Embassy. He gets asylum, and then Donald Trump brings him to the United States of America, where he can live a happy tropical Trump life in Miami, I guess. And to do that, he had to shake his ankle monitor, meaning he had to get rid of it because the Brazilian government's keeping tabs on him. House arrest. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison for literally trying to take over the country, start an insurrection, and kill the now President Lula of Brazil. Apparently a good dude. Anyway, long story short, he looks at his kids and he's like, "Give me a soldering iron." If you don't know what a soldering iron is, it's a little hot little rod that you heat up like wires, so you melt stuff so you can fuse metal things. That's what a soldering iron is for. It's also for prison tattoos, but I don't want to get into that. Anyway, long story short, The Brazilian government and the local police get a ping that someone's trying to fuck with this ankle monitor. So after Trump hangs up with them, he's desperately trying to get this ankle monitor off so he can make a break for the U.S. embassy and Trump can bring him up to the United States. And Brazilian authorities park down the street, get a note. They're like, he's trying to fuck with the ankle monitor. They literally bum rush Jair Bolsonaro's house, catch him in the act of trying to get the ankle monitor off. You can see the picture of Dean
really?
Blundell.
They catch him in the act of
Oh,
it?
yeah. You can see the pictures of it at deanblundell.substack.com. There's a video there with the Brazilian law enforcement officer kind of showing it to Bolsonaro while it's still on his leg. And he's like, yeah, I was paranoid. What do you want from me? I was afraid they were coming to get me.
Is his excuse? I was paranoid? I mean, and the president of the United States associated with this guy, which is just like, beyond.
Well, the great part was that, dude, here's the great part. So they ask him about Bolsonaro the next morning after he gets off the phone with them. Now, Bolsonaro has been arrested. They go, hey, Trump, what's up with Bolsonaro? He goes, that gentleman, I talked to him last night. I'm going to be visiting him very, very soon. We're going to be meeting very, very soon. Didn't say where. And then another reporter's like, really, that's fascinating because they arrested him for trying to escape his house so that he could go to the fucking U.S. embassy so he could leave the country. He tried to flee his 27-year jail sentence. And Trump's like, what?
So Trump didn't know, eh?
And they're like, had no idea. So he had been picked up like literally fucking minutes after the fact. He got off the phone with Bolsonaro. So he now has a Bolsonaro trying to escape Brazil problem on top of all the other fucking problems that he has.
That is
great
unbelievable.
Story.
Let's let me catch you up a little bit on what's happening in D.C. So according to some sources here, this is the scene live, by the way, 2 West Virginia National Guards members were among the troops shot near the White House in D.C. today. The governor says at least one has died and the other is hospitalized. 2 National Guard soldiers were shot Wednesday near 17th and I Street in Northwest in downtown Washington, D.C., just a few blocks from the White House. Authorities say a suspect is in custody and emergency responders transported 3 people, including the suspect, to area hospitals. So two National Guardsmen. It's hard to tell exactly what the situation here. Of course, these guardsmen were patrolling D.C. as part of the.
Well, to be fair, they were probably picking up garbage and using weed whackers to clean up the park. That's what
I mean, it could be something as mundane as that they were doing. So there's various reports coming from the scene. Some outlets initially describing both guard members as in critical condition before the governor confirmed one fatality. So we have two of them shot near the White House. We don't have very much else other than that. This is the scene. I guess we'll keep watching it. There's, it'll be interesting if 2 of these guardsmen are shot.
Well, first of all, awful story. Right. Anytime, someone who volunteers to protect their country that gets sent into a city to effectively pretend like there's a problem, none of those guys wanted to be there, or girls.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. So 2 get shot. One's dead. Is that what you said?
It looks like it's. I'm going to say 2 are shot. I'm not going to say that anyone is. They did confirm one, but I'm not sure. I want to confirm
fatality.
One. I'm going to say there's 2 shots, and we'll leave it there because I don't know if I just don't have a confirmation from this other source. But there was one report earlier that there was a fatality unconfirmed on that one. So let's just say 2 shot for the time being.
Okay, so breaking news. Obviously, everybody's joining us right now. And I know some people are in the chat are already kind of alluding to this. I've seen it. I've seen the 2 words false flag, but let me just kind of slow that down just for a second. I'm going to be very interested to see if this person is trans,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be
Antifa,
mm-hmm.
member of the LGBTQ community. And I'm very interested to find out more about the suspect and how this Trump regime chooses to describe the suspect, their ideology, where they're from. And I'm very interested in the subsequent tweets from certain people in the Trump regime and how they frame this. Because if past nightmarish shootings like this that have happened or any indication, this promises to be a powder keg.
It's so hard to tell at this point, and you always have to be so cautious. But you're right. Every time one of these events happens, it seems to happen at a point in the news cycle where the president might benefit from a distraction. And it looks like he could benefit from a distraction on an otherwise terrible week for him. Another
Witkoff,
terrible week.
Russia, Comey,
On the
Russian
other hand,
decision, Epstein.
it's such a bad idea to send the National Guard's troops in to do all the local policing inside a city, because that's really not what they're trained to do. That, is it any surprise that things are going to go bad? And if they're going bad, it's still the president's policy to bring in National Guards people into a scene like this. You have to wonder whether it just backfires on that level too, because these are not people who are trained for community policing in a city like DC. That's just not what they're trained for.
Yeah, in DC, it's funny because he's been running around talking about no crime in DC. You can walk around everywhere. But up to date this month, there have been 6 murders. Last month there were 8. There were 13 the month before that, if I'm getting my math correct. These are the 3 months that the National Guard has been. I mean, there's been really, and I mean, it's.
I've got killed now. So now sorry to interrupt you there.
Sorry,
so the West Virginia governor said that the guardsmen were members of the state's deployment to Washington, and this is New York Times, 2 National Guard members killed in shooting near the White House, and that the attacker has also been shot. This is the New York Times, just updated moments ago. So the story goes on to say, it back says that more than 2,000 National Guard troops deployed in Washington in August after President Trump took federal control of the city's police and mobilized the troops in what he described as a crackdown on crime. But this is, that changes the story. It shouldn't, but it does change the story, of course.
Well, yeah, because they're dead, right?
Yeah.
It's so much worse. And the other option here, in terms of, because I know we all want, and again, bless the families of these 2 National Guards that were murdered today. No matter what and who and how, that is a thankless thing to be doing while you're being hunted or you're being shot. So we put the false flag thing on the table. Let me just introduce another impetus for stuff like this. That wouldn't have happened if the National Guard wasn't there. That wouldn't happen if Trump hadn't terrorized migrant communities, probably. If indeed this is a person that is not connected in any way, shape, or form, and if indeed this is not a false flag event, I'm trying to cover a lot of bases here and protect myself, and also not rush to any judgment. But this was a matter of time. And this won't be the last one. This won't be the last time someone that Trump has, for perception reasons, forced into a place to strong arm the people in that place, taking away human rights of the people in that place, whether it be ICE goons, DHS, the Gestapo, Greg Bovino, all of those guys. The temperature has been raised to a point where, it was really fascinating. I've got Ken Harbaugh on the show on Friday, the Valor Network. He's a Navy vet. He's part of the Midas crew. Just a great dude. We're doing a little bit of work together. So he's going to join me. And he said something, and it's funny because as soon as you announce this, I'm like, oh, it's happening. Ken said that this is a matter of time. For whatever the impetus it is, whatever reasoning that goes into this, and there's no reason to kill anybody, but when we find out the reasoning, provided we can trust that reasoning and why this happened, it was a matter of time. And Ken said this. He was surprised that something like this hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's true. This is one of those things that we've been thinking about for a long time because America's very unprotected in many regards. We talked about it with Jacob earlier on. Without having the intelligence that they're used to getting, the FBI officers are not on the streets; they're out there. Sorry, I'll try to fix your framing.
Oh no, I got it. I'll just move my camera back, dude. I got a physical answer for that.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing things. The FBI is out there arresting people on behalf of the ICE, immigration crackdown. So instead of people doing the work that they should be doing, which is preventing crime, instead of people out there investigating possible leads, the entire Justice Department is completely messed up. It's completely become weaponized. FBI is not on the clock. They're not doing what they need to do. The National Guards are replacing injecting themselves into the policing on the street level. That is also very complicated when you start messing with the way police, departments have relationships with their communities, how they get information back and forth. we have lost all of that because the Trump administration is so determined to be so divisive and disruptive of everything that, you know, you land up in a situation where you can see how this would have happened. And the fact that it hasn't happened sooner is not really, you know, it doesn't really, it's not no comfort, of course, but it's surprising that it hasn't happened sooner. But here we are now facing, you know, these two West Virginia National Guard members fatally shot outside the White House. Patrick Morrissey said the West Virginia governor said this on X. This is his statement. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country, wrote Morrissey. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues. Our entire state grieves with their families, their loved ones, and the Guard community. West Virginia will never forget their service or their sacrifice, and we will demand full accountability for this horrific act. Just happened at 3 p.m., by the way. And one person in custody, so that we've got that person. He's alive. It seems the shooter. The shooting happened at the corner of 17th and H Street Northwest, and 3 gunshot victims were transported to the hospital, according to DC. So obviously, only those are 3 additional, or those the 3 including the National Guard members. I'm not sure, but it sounds like it's.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. I listen. You know, I'm ruminating as you're talking. Mm-hmm. You can. You know, you can blame psychosis, you know, lone wolf. You can blame false flag, or you can blame angry, nutty citizen that was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and what Trump has done to states like Washington, D.C., or districts like Washington, D.C., states like Portland, Oregon. And to Ken Harbaugh's point, surprised it hasn't happened sooner. This is Donald Trump. He's got to wear this. This is, he did this. You can attribute the death of those 2 National Guards people to Donald Trump's desire to destroy America by turning a lie into a fucking TV show and into your reality. And that effort to tell everybody that he's a tough guy, he's a strong guy, he's a law and order guy, sent hundreds, if not thousands, of National Guardsmen and women into Washington, D.C. to help ICE goons and DHS goons terrorize that city. Now, a lot of those National Guards people, and I got to be careful with what I say, are probably so fucking sick and tired of it too, right? Can't speak for the ICE goons. They're probably enjoying it. Same thing with whatever strong-arm DHS guy that they brought in there. But they were there just to protect, you know, the people doing the work, and that work was terrible fucking work on behalf of a dictator. So they're just lumped into the people that are trying to hurt us with the people that are sick of this shit in Washington, D.C. And in no way is that an excuse to shoot anybody. In no way is that an excuse to shoot anybody. But on the list of salient reasons as to why this happened, you got to get that list out there before Donald Trump and his regime use this, paint this. And dude, they did it with fucking Charlie Kirk. They'll have no problem sullying the memory of 2 National Guards people to paint a narrative that helps them create policy to hurt more Americans.
We really needed understanding of what was going on here. I mean, it could be that there was some sort of attempt to do something, and these National Guardsmen were able to disrupt that. We just don't know. So, you know, there's this talk about this fire that was blazing in across in parts of DC. No one's really. You know, I can't get a handle on what that really is related to this particular shooting, but there was a fire in the same place. So maybe there was something significant. There's also now video just Sam Stein posted on X, and I'm going to try to get that for you, where you can see the National Guards trying to take down this guy and then getting, I don't know how they were, you know, it's unclear how they were killed. But let me see if I can pull that video up. And, you know, that just reminds us that we are in a very... you know, we're in a very precarious position where the president of the United States could be a target for an attempt to do something, or, you know, a terror attack in DC, of course, is not inconceivable. It's very possible. I'm going to try to put this video up here. So what we got is, this is Sam Stein. This is the aftermath, he says. So this is from the window here. Let me see if I can pull this up full screen somehow. Oops.
Yeah, it could have been a robbery gone wrong.
I mean, they look
They
like
could
a really
have caught
do
a
you see
guy in
that? Do you see them
action.
wrestling?
Yep.
They're
No,
really
I don't see
wrestling.
him.
Yeah, that's pretty. So that's the guardsman. Just I'm going to try download and play it for you. I can't. But there's they come at him here, and they really. I'll try to zoom in here because it's so hard to see. Best way to do that is this way.
Yeah, folks, if you're just joining us, two National Guards, men, women, people, members of the National Guard shot and killed in Washington, D.C., just steps away from the White House around 3 o'clock this afternoon. They have the suspect in custody. Trying not to rush to judgment here, obviously, and trying not to paint this as anybody's operation, an ideological bend, ideologically motivated extremism and violence, trying to stay away from that. National Guard aren't in Washington, D.C. This doesn't happen. Of course, we know why they're there. It's all bullshit anyway. And waiting to see how the Trump regime uses this to their benefit. Okay, there we go. You got the video.
Yeah.
Explain it to us. Walk us through it if you can.
It's hard for me to tell exactly what's going on here. I'm going to just scroll up here and actually show you the previous video that was posted by Stein. So just take it from the top here. Now you can see there behind that bus shelter, you've got these National Guard guys looking like they're trying to subdue somebody. It's hard to tell exactly what they're doing, but there's a lot of police around there as they're trying to subdue somebody from doing something. But those are National Guard uniforms that they're wearing, and that's the police they're doing as well. So I'm going to just show you this next video as soon as this one runs out, but let's just see how it develops here. And there's a lot of police presence around. I'm going to see, maybe I can lift the audio up for you. Can you hear that, or is that just coming through me? Maybe you can't.
No, I can't hear it.
Yeah,
can't hear
there's
it.
just sirens going off in the background there. Let me pull this up into a big screen. So that was the original scene. You had people, basically, I'll just show you the top of it again, trying to subdue. It looks like behind that bus shelter is someone trying to get away from them. They're trying to subdue him. The National Guards people are holding him down. And then the police show up. And then here's this next piece of video.
I feel like this is after.
Yeah, this is after the fact. I think this is
after
when
the
they
shooting.
arrested
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So I think you had the shooting, and then these guys, the guy trying to make a run for it. And now it's unclear if he was shot as well, because if that guy does not look like he was shot. That guy was on the ground, but not obviously struggling. It's hard to say. That might be a body right there. All right. Sorry if that offended people. One of these things about doing this live. But obviously a big developing story happening right now in DC, where you've got these two National Guardsmen who have been killed by a gunman of some sort. And then it looks like there was, we saw the body there of what looked like it could be either a guardsman or the victim or the shooter. Things developing quite quickly here in one of these live breaking news situations where you just can't tell exactly what is going on, because any attempt to understand this from our perspective, we just can't guarantee that we know the cause of any of this. But it is highly, highly suspicious, as we pointed out. Every time we have one of these shootings, they seem to happen at very, very, I don't want to say suspicious, but unusual times when the president could use a reprieve from the national attention. Now, of course, this isn't a good news story. There's no good news in this for anybody. But, two National Guards people being killed is a distraction as well. Now, we don't know any of this, and we don't jump to those conclusions, but the White House currently under lockdown. DC looks like it's in full emergency mode right now as they are trying to there are protests happening. Actually, it's interesting around DC as well. Around the White House recently, there have been protests around Lafayette Square and the like. So who knows? Who knows what we're really are dealing with here? And I don't want to speculate. Maybe people on the chat know more than we can tell, because we can't pull the video up with any audio. All I got is these videos showing up. So, Dean, maybe because we just don't have any more information, unless you're finding anything there, we can We can keep
Call it.
talking, but it's not really helpful, I guess, unless we are able to share something brand new with people.
Yeah.
I just want to be cautious of not speculating about something that isn't confirmed at this point.
No, I think you can ruminate and you can have, some plausible, projected explanations, excuses, operations that will come out of this. And let's just wait.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, I don't want to be Cash Patel.
You're
go,
not. You're not.
It's Antifa. I found bullets. Like I don't want to be that guy, and I don't think anybody should, especially where something like this has happened. There's going to be an outpouring of emotion. This is a service member. These are two volunteer service members who have been told to go and sweep the streets and look like you're protecting ice goons in a city that's targeting via Trump.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the guy was actually, attempting to get to the White House. It was just happening in the vicinity, according to the Secret Service.
Yeah.
Secret Service members at the scene did not fire shots. He said there is clearly a altercation, an exchange of gunfire between the suspects and the National Guard members who died. We also saw them subduing somebody who may have been shot in that video. So all of that indicates that there was at least, an exchange of gunfire between these guys. It could have been anything from an ordinary crime to a terror attack. We just don't know.
Or a false flag. Yeah.
Yeah, or a false flag, or any of these kinds of things. The White House in lockdown, the entire airspace above D.C. Disrupted. There's no flights going in and out right now, as is normal for any event like this, where the president is in the vicinity and the White House could have been targeted in anything. Speaking of, Director Kash Patel said in a social media post Wednesday that the agency is engaged and assisting with the investigation into the shooting of two National Guard troops. That's all he says. Pretty restrained from him. Senator Jim Justice of West Virginia said in a statement on social media that he's staying in close contact with the National Guard and federal law enforcement. And we will just have to keep watching the story. A dramatic breaking news story in D.C. today is two National Guardsmen killed in an altercation with gunfire with a suspect who is in hospital right now, we believe. And we shall see what his condition is over the next few hours.
Yeah, and thoughts and prayers, and I mean that. Like, even though I don't pray, thoughts and very sincere thoughts for the families of the two deceased National Guard members. I think that's very, very important to.
It is reminds us
today.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It can happen at any point in time.
This Thanksgiving is so heavy for so many people. We're all dealing with an incredibly stressful time, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. The events of the last year have just traumatized us over and over and over again. And here we are seeing yet another tragedy take place, another tragedy on Thanksgiving Eve. There are at least two families that are going to be missing, two very special people at Thanksgiving this year. And that is just part of and this you can say, without not speculating, we just know that the polarization and the stress and the trauma of this administration and the collapse of the Department of Justice and the collapse of the typical FBI activities and the corruption of the system as we've known it has really, left all of us nervous and scared and worried about where we're going to be in the future. I mean, there is lots of good news in the show today in terms of the judges are pushing back, the judicial system is pushing back, the instruments that are meant to be there to check and balance this outrageous attempt at stealing power are working. But, we also have two lives lost in the line of duty in Washington, D.C., just near the White House. There's no way to sugarcoat this. If Donald Trump thinks America is safer or greater, or D.C. is any safer than it was before, this incident proves otherwise. This is a disastrous policy, obviously, bringing in the National Guard into these cities. They shouldn't be there. Judges have ordered them out, and they're just there to back up an immigration policy, which in itself, we didn't even get to this today, but Carolyn Levitt's nephew's mother was picked up in an ICE raid. Just spectacular hypocrisy from this administration over and over and over again. And here we are witnessing on Thanksgiving Eve as people are preparing to, stuff the turkey and do what they do with their families and get together. And we have 2 lives that have been lost and 2 lives that need to be remembered. And this is a serious situation that America's in. We are not, it's easy to laugh. We laugh a lot of time on the show. There's lots of, because this is such a pathetic administration. But there are lives on the line. We spoke about it with Jacob earlier on. Around the world, there are lives on the line in the United States every day as they're trying to implement these policies. The lives on the line, obviously, around Venezuela, and when people are fishing and they're getting blown out of the water. There's lives on the line because of the criminality of all these orders, the criminality of all these things that the troops are being asked to do. We do have a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving, and we certainly have to be thankful for the fact that everybody who's watching right now, everybody who is been fighting the good fight to keep democracy alive in the United States has done so triumphantly. Everyone needs to be really proud of every pushback we've done over the last year, because that pushback is working. It's clearly working. A few months ago, we wouldn't have had these same judgments come out. We would not have had the same pushback against Donald Trump as we're seeing now from the GOP, whether it becomes the Epstein files or whether it's all these other things. That pushback is coming because the people who are watching right now, and the people in America have stood up and they've understood the truth and they fought back against this regime, and they have won, essentially. We're not quite there yet, but we're going to get there. So there's a lot to be thankful for.
So well said, my friend. To the point where there's 2 people that won't be at a Thanksgiving table this weekend that are supposed to be serving their families. Instead, they're serving Donald Trump's vanity project in Washington, D.C. That's why they're dead.
Yeah.
I also want to bring up a shuddering fact. I just looked it up. This is the first time in America's history a member or more than one member of the National Guard has been murdered by a U.S. citizen. Very first time.
Wow.
Never happened. Ever, ever, ever. 17 National Guardsmen died while deployed as part of Operation Lone Star. That was to secure the southern border. 1988, 3 National Guardsmen among 8 people killed in California helicopter crash while on duty. That's it. That's it. This is the very first time in America's history where 2 National Guard members, volunteer National Guard members, have been shot and killed while patrolling the United States to keep it safe. What's behind that is the temperature created by one Donald J. Trump in this regime. That's what I know today.
Yeah. And National Guardsmen are not designed for this duty. They're not designed to go and do urban policing. They don't train for it. They're not geared up for it. They don't know the communities. It's just not what they do. So to send them in to clean up the city when all you're trying to do is suppress protests. That's really what he's trying to do. Suppress protests. Is just exactly why this regime is so hypocritical. It's so devoid of any ethics and morality. It just will do anything to protect themselves and their lies and their mythical world that they've created. But it's now come at a cost of 2 National Guardsmen who shouldn't be there. Police in D.C. are quite capable of doing this, of policing the city, and they're the ones who are trained to do it. So what a way to hit Thanksgiving. Dean, I was going to try and on an uplifting note. I'm not sure that does that, but it's going to be
it is. Listen. Empathy is uplifting.
Yeah.
And this is an odd time for everybody, and we're Canadians, so we live on it. We survive on empathy and the word sorry. Just so you know, it's our lifeblood. But no, this is a really, really important day, and it's an important moment, and it's a reminder to give thanks. It's a reminder of who's raised the temperature in America. So something like this has happened that has never happened in America's history before, where a couple of people volunteering to protect their country within its borders were literally deployed to not do any of that so that Donald Trump could take pictures and tell everybody he's keeping America safe. And DC's a shithole, so I need to take over the police force. That's why they're dead.
Yeah.
First time in America's history that has happened. But I'm glad it happened while we were on. And because I think, one of the things that I hear from a lot of people when they subscribe or, they send us nice notes or comments and replies is, we're not in the soup because we're removed from it, but we have that 30,000-foot view of what's going on in the United States because we are in Canada, deeply invested. I would say 80% of the people that subscribe to deanblundell.substack.com are American. And that's by design because we want you to have the information that you're not going to get. We want to be able to kind of act as Sherpas. And it's really, really important right now for everybody that does this in a responsible way to have a responsible look at how we narrate, everything when it comes to stuff like this. To do it with empathy, to do it with kindness, do it with love, do it with the families in mind, but also do it with why did this happen? Something that has never, ever happened in America's history before. It's because of Donald Trump. That's why this happened. The X's and the O's and the nuances and the motivation, all of it is going to get spin by everybody. It's going to get a spin from the extreme left. It's going to get a spin from the extreme right. It'll get a furry spin, a trans spin. It's going to get watch what happens.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. I think it's really important for everybody to arm themselves with information, context, so that when you do push back, you do it from a perspective of authority. Which is why we have these conversations, which is very important to us. So please, if you can, come and subscribe, deanblundell.substack.com, narrative.org. We're so grateful you got a chance to spend some time with us. Very sorry that this is our lead-in into Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving Thursday tomorrow. I want to tell all of my American friends, I'm so thankful for you. I'm thankful that we get to have a place in your day for an hour a day at 3 o'clock with the FiveStack. It's now an hour and 25 minutes, but we didn't predict that a lot of this shit would happen today. So as we do, we try to be nimble and we try to move to where you need to go. But it all points back into the same direction, is that, Donald Trump and what he's done to the United States has come home to roost. And in a very, very, very disturbing way. Today. And so I'm glad that we got a chance to not just talk about that, but also talk about the other shit that we talked about today. Everything you find from us, narrative.org is where you can find Zev Shalev, deanblundell.substack.com. Please share this with as many people as you can. Hit that heart at the bottom of the screen as many times as you can. Hammer that square with the arrow that sends it. Send it to people. Share it with as many people as you can. Because, this just happened, but I believe this is a responsible way to look at also what happened. Is to do it from, like I said, a position of factual authority, to do it with empathy, and to head off all of the other spin at the pass, because there will be a lot of different people that will want to use the memory of these dead heroes. They're dead heroes that died for no reason, to their political advantage. I don't care who's doing it. Call it the fuck out. Because this is a moment in history that everybody needs to get on the same page.
Well done, Dean Blundell from deanblundell.substack.com. We want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be grateful for this year in America because we've been able to push back against this administration. We've been able to really hold their feet to the fire in many ways. And it's because of you and your efforts that have been so profound and successful that this government, this regime is in retreat right now. And I don't think they can even last the year, certainly not until the next election. It just seems unlikely. It is, however, incredibly impactful that as we enter Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving Eve here in 2025, these are the images that we're seeing out of Washington, D.C. as 2 National Guardsmen are killed in the line of duty, just a short distance away from the White House, which on Thanksgiving Eve is now under lockdown. That's the FiveStack today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here tonight.